What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be going over the Hinson Motorsports fuel pump assembly for a 94 to 02 S10. If you guys are watching this video, you're probably well aware there isn't much for options out there. There's a Chinese option. You can shove pumps in your own fuel assembly if you want, but there really isn't much room. This is a factory bottom. Not much room, not a very good solution. So Hinson Motorsports came up with this. It's very nice billet aluminum machined piece. Holds two pumps of your choice. You can have a twin 255s, twin 450s, which is what I have, or you can have twin 525s. And this does utilize your fuel level sending unit. You got to cut it out of the factory fuel pump assembly and mount it on here. They make it pretty easy to do so. They give you instructions with it. I'm also going to show you a video on how to do that. But I think this is a very good solution for those of you that have maybe a turbo on your factory truck, or an LS motor, or a turbo LS motor, or whatever you have, a big block. I don't care what you got. If you want to run a factory fuel tank so you can street drive this thing, have a fuel gauge, have the capacity like I do, this is what I want. I want to keep my factory tank. I want to keep my bed clear because I still use it as a truck occasionally. So this is the perfect option, and it's quite budget friendly for what it is too. If you take a look closer, you have an 8 AN feed and two -6 ORB fittings, which it comes with. You can see right here. It comes with your fuel socks to go on the bottom of the pumps. It comes with some connectors and stuff like that. But then it comes with your two 6 ORB swivel fittings for a tight fit. I already have my fuel system set up, so I'm gonna be using these, which I already had laying around. These are a 6 orb to a -6 AN. So that's the other great part about this, is you can modify it to your need. You can spin that in there just like that. Now I got a return, a vent, and a feed. And then they also include this connector. Everything's already wired up other than the sending unit. And to go with this is sold separately, but it's very highly recommended by me and them. They sell a wiring kit. They sub this out to Racetronics to meet their spec for their fuel pump assembly. It comes with some zip ties, some connectors, some ends. It also comes with, for those of you not running a Holly like I am, it comes with a 4 PSI hob switch. So you can set this up to kick the second pump on as soon as you're into some boost. And obviously a wiring pigtail for that. And then here is the wiring pigtail for the fuel pump. This plugs right into it. There's only a couple wires you got to hook up to make this very simple. Here is the overall harness. So you can see this is what plugs into that pigtail I just showed you. And then you're gonna have your battery feed, a ground, your relays, chassis ground. Let's see what this one, that's battery ground. So you got battery ground, chassis ground, alternator output, another alternator output, and then you got your connectors right here. And then there's also two 20 amp, 25 amp fuses here. So you're gonna wanna mount your fuses and your relays in an accessible location. Try to keep them dry if you can. That's what I'm gonna do. But this is gonna make it very simple to run two pumps, because my plan is I'm gonna run one pump continuously. The next pump's gonna come on. I'll set it in my computer. I'll probably put it at 4 PSI, honestly. As soon as it hits 4 pounds, it'll trigger the other pump. So that way. All right, guys, got this mounted. Unfortunately, my factory fuel bucket broke as soon as I touched it, because it's old. You can see it just kind of shattered, so I kind of had to move my cut in to make up for it. So I was planning on having it to where it would mount here and here, per se. It didn't work out because it broke, but the good part is they give you 4 bolt holes. So what I did is I just moved it over a little bit and just mounted here and here. This doesn't have to be super secure. It's a float. That's all this is. This is for your float. So you can see mounts like that. I did measure, you know, so let's say that's the bottom of the tank. You can see, got enough room for a sock down there. It's right about where it would be in its factory position. Got my wires hooked up. I got to heat shrink these. It's in a fuel tank. Don't really have to heat shrink it, but I'm going to. So that's mounted. Once again, you don't got to worry about this thing being super tight or anything like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's how you're going to mount that. Hopefully yours isn't as brittle, it doesn't break like mine, and you can mount all the way around. Just to show you guys, it is tricky getting this in the tank. Yes, my tank is rusty as can be. I've just now figured this out. So it's going to be a trick getting this in here, but we'll get it in. It'll go. As you can see, they maximize the space with this thing. They give you all the fuel pump they can possibly give you. But I'm going to go ahead and get socks on, try to get this thing fished in the tank. I'm going to have to hook this up once it's in the tank, essentially, which I'll show you guys how to do that. It won't be that bad. I'll be right back with you. Putting the fuel socks on. I'll show you guys how these go. If you don't know, you have your opening that sucks the fuel up and a pen basically right here. And as you can see, obviously the opening goes in there, the pen goes in there. That's what kind of retains it, so you want to make sure to get that on your pen. All right, it's very tight getting in. There's nothing I can say about that as far as it is. It's tight, but you kind of got to just figure it out as you go. I'm doing my best to show you guys. So I'm clipping all this in. You can see I have this off as of right this moment. Got to kind of get it to where it'll, there we go. Now it's going. All right, and then you got to kind of clip this in. So I don't know if you can, hopefully my hands aren't fully blocking. They probably are. I'm doing my best. So that's it. So you got to kind of, I had to snake a fuel pump down. I loosened it on the bracket, pushed the fuel pump down out of the bracket, so it was kind of hanging by the wiring in the tube. And then I had my fuel level sending unit off. And I kind of just snaked it all in the hole, one by one. It does all fit. It's tight. It's not what I would call a fun job, but there you go. Look at that. That's honestly, that is my first time getting it in, and it's in there. It fits. There's the seal going down now. To push the seal in a little bit with something, because that's a brand new seal. But I will get the seal down real quick and get that thing popped on. For those of you that don't know, it's just a big C-clip that holds it in. That's the factory one. I should probably get a new one if I'm being honest. She's crusty. Tank's also crusty. I'll probably be getting a new one of them too. So I'll be redoing this here soon. But for now, I got to get the truck out of the shop. So it's going to get this one for now, and I'll order a tank and redo it in a couple weeks. But there's the fuel pump module assembly in there. All right, real quick. You guys saw me fish it in the tank. I mounted it this way. The factory fuel sending unit is aimed that way, like it was from the factory. You can do this however you want. You can aim it that way if you want, I would imagine. The only thing I'd have to worry about is you'd have to measure. I didn't measure because I put it that way. This is their fitting that they gave me. You can see a little bit of tape that didn't get off there. Didn't realize. This is just a vent line. So I'm gonna cut it once it's in the truck. And you gotta mount it up, you know, if your tank is here, you're gonna wanna mount it up higher. I'll probably mount it to the back of the bed. Not too sure yet. I'm gonna put some sort of rollover vent in it. It's basically just a ball valve so the truck rolls over, it doesn't sit there and pour fuel. I put this fitting in, which is a -6 AN fitting to 6 orb, and then they already have their -8 fitting in, which is perfect because my fuel system As you can see, is a -6 return, -8 feed. So, and I did pull out my factory wiring. The long wires are my fuel pump wires. And, well, one's just a fuel pump feed wire. And the other two are for the fuel sending unit. This was the factory pressure sensor. Couldn't think of it. It has a factory pressure sensor, so that's just gonna get cut out. I'm gonna trim it back a little further. I just wanted to get it out of the way because I want to get the tank back in. Once the tank's in, then I'll worry about the wiring. But there's my factory setup for the vent, which maybe I can reutilize it. We'll see. I don't know if I can manage to get AN fitting on that, or AN hose. We'll try though, see what we can do. But for now, wiring's out. Tank's getting ready to go back in. I just wanted to show you guys the setup before it goes in. Obviously, before you put it in, plug your wiring harness adapter in. Make life a lot easier, because then once the tank's in, you put your fittings on, put the tank all the way up, and then you can go from there. And also, what I didn't say earlier about the fuel sending unit is I don't know which way it works, for which wire is which. I'll find out. It's a 50-50 chance. If it's wrong, you can just depin this and flip positions, and then it'll work right. So don't worry too much about that. 50% chance to get it right. I'll tell you guys which color is which, but that's how I'm gonna do it. All right, tank is on the truck, as you can see. Give you guys an idea of the clearance that's in there. Not a lot, there's a little bit, but not a ton. I'll get that like that. We'll get it all prettied up. But there it is, tank is back in the truck. Not a bad project for those of you that haven't done it. There is multiple ways to do this. If you have a lift where you can get the truck high enough off the ground, you can take it out from the bottom, use a trans jack or whatever you like. A lot of people that don't have access to lifts, they pull the bed off. Tank stays in place, you just do everything, put the bed back on, whichever way works, whichever way is easiest for you. I have a lift, so I prefer to do it this way. But now we're gonna get on to the wiring. As you can see, it has spaghetti right now. I'm also gonna trim this back and get that set up how I want it. But we're not too far away from starting this thing up, I'd say. All right, guys, we're on to the wiring side. I just wanted to go over this real quick. This is the Hobb switch. So what you would do is put this in your, your turbo system somewhere, like an intercooler pipe, whatever. Basically like a map sensor is the best way to describe how this would work. As soon as you hit 4 pounds of boost, it will activate, which would then turn on pump number 2. I, however, am not going to use it. This would be a setup if you have a factory PCM, something of that sort. I have a Holly on this, so any type of aftermarket ECM can trigger. You can set a parameter for it to trigger it, so that's what I'm going to do. My wiring is probably going to be different than your guys's because I have my battery mounted in the bed back here. So depending on your setup, they made this plenty long. It would reach to the front of the truck, no problem. Well, this is what would be going to the front actually, because this would be like your battery hookup and fuses. So my fuses are probably going to wind up being mounted down here, which whatever, I don't care, that's fine. I'll mount them up nicely. They shouldn't blow if it's all hooked up right. Shouldn't be a problem. Relays, I'm probably going to mount under the truck as well. Probably somewhere in the frame right here, as this truck does not go and see weather, even though it used to. So, and the chassis ground is right here, which is perfect. I can ground it, right here on my chassis ground. And then here's the part that is gonna plug in to my fuel pump. And this here is for my sending level. So, should be good to go. I'll get some stuff hooked up, get it tidied up. I'm gonna use some P-clamps and just hang the extra wiring up here. This is kind of one of them deals that you either make it custom to fit perfect, or you buy a prefab that will work great and you won't have any issues and it'll be hooked up properly, but you might have some extra wiring, that's all. So I'm gonna get this hooked up. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick rundown on the harness here. So you have your harness that comes off your pump. This is gonna be the connector with your trigger wire for one of the pumps. This is gonna be your 2 wires for your fuel level sending. I do gotta tidy it up. It's just for now, I just got it going because I'm getting low on time today. Here's your fuses. This is this part going up. That goes to battery feed, battery positive, and battery negative. And then you got these 2 connectors. These are gonna be trigger wires, and they send you these, which just complete a circuit is all it does. Right, so that's gonna be for pump 1. They send you 2 of them. If you wanna run your pumps continuously, you could just plug both of them in, you're done. I wanna run a trigger wire to pump 2, so this is gonna be pump 2. I'm gonna have to run a trigger wire to it. And then this end right here is going to plug in to there. Sorry about my glove. And then you have your relays, which you're just gonna wanna mount, you know, nicely somewhere, and a chassis ground. So the wiring is very simple. There really isn't much to hook up. They leave it, you got 3 wires to hook up there. You're gonna plug that in. If you're running both pumps at the same time, you're gonna plug that one in. If you want a trigger wire, you're gonna run a trigger wire to that one. And then you got a couple battery connections, a chassis ground, and mount some relays. So about as simple as it gets when it comes to wiring. For the price of this, I'd highly recommend it. All right. I did hook the fuel pump up backwards. I'll change it. It's not the fuel pump, but the sending unit. And we're live. And we have fuel pressure, good fuel pressure. Might turn it down a hair. My regulator, it was running 47 before, we're at 50 now. But either way, that's good to see. Very simple to hook up. Like I said, I got that backwards, so I'll flip the wires around and we'll be done with it. I'm not gonna bore you guys with flipping the wires or doing wire loom and all that. I just wanted to get it hooked up and show you. That's on 1 pump. That's a wrap. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.